This episode of Lawyers Tell All is brought to you by the Intake Academy. Are you ready to convert more callers to qualified cases, rapidly qualify good cases, and transform unqualified prospects to advocates for your firm, whether you're able to handle their case or not? Visit www.intakeacademy.com and discover how to cement relationships with more of your ideal clients. Get them to commit to you and send you more referrals than you ever thought possible. Welcome to the Lawyers Tell All podcast, where Chris Mullins, the preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry, shows you how it looks through lawyers' eyes. Here, innovators in the trenches provide powerful insights that help you connect with new clients, handle the sometimes harsh realities of the legal profession, and embrace the mindsets needed to succeed. Be sure to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, tune in, and let's take a deep dive.
Thanks, Chris. So I'm Kellam Parks. I'm an attorney. My main office is in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I am one of the two owners of Parks Ziegler. I started the firm as a solo in 2012. My partner and good friend Brandon Ziegler came in and joined me in 2015. And we've grown it now to, I think we have 13 lawyers, about 38 people. We've got 3 offices, 2 in Virginia, 1 in Northeast North Carolina. We do about 11 different practice areas, so we're sort of one of those weird general practicing firms. When I practice law, I do cybersecurity, data privacy, and complex divorces, family law, as well as civil litigation. I really like the business of law more than the practice. I'm very tech forward. We're a paperless, technology forward company. We do AI and all sorts of other tech things. And I love the business of law so much that I'm starting a coaching company next month. It's called The Motivated Lawyer. And I give out a free newsletter every week to people if you go to themotivatedlawyer.com. But yeah, so I really, really like the business of law. Kind of like the practice of law, but I've litigated for 25 years and kind of moved on beyond that.
Yeah, so entrepreneurial more.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so let's see. I was looking at your website earlier. Yeah, you have a lot of different practices, types of areas. So you don't do personal injury?
We do not. No, we did it for a little while. We used to do some medical malpractice, plaintiff work as well. But really, the costs involved with those and sort of it doesn't fit our regular models. So we had some good attorneys that were working in those areas, but it didn't really fit well with us. And so we kind of moved on from those areas.
So when you first started the practice, which area were you focused on?
Yeah, so when I started, I was still doing general. So I've done almost every kind of law in my career. I've worked for a number of really good firms and had the real pleasure of doing a lot of different things. But I was focusing mainly on family law. I was doing general civil litigation. So I was doing everything from landlord-tenant to business torts, whatever. And then I really enjoyed doing fair credit reporting plaintiff work. So credit errors, and I was suing creditors and the credit report agencies for not fixing things and having wrong information. I really thought that was going to be a gold mine. I thought that was going to be it. And then Equifax had a big breach right after I started my firm, and I was like, "Oh, that's it. I'm cashing in." And I found out they just don't care, and you have to file a lawsuit. You can't settle before you file a lawsuit. It's in federal court. It's a lot of work. So I ended up just transitioning, doing really more family, then more of the business, and then I got into cybersecurity, data privacy about 8 years ago. And I help businesses prepare themselves, and I do incident response. So it's more transactional, not litigation focused.
When you started with family, what made you choose family for starting out?
Yeah, well, I had done it. I had done it, for years and years. And it's one of those practice areas that once you get into it, you have clients for life. I've now represented clients that I've unfortunately divorced their children. Who were young kids when I first started. But I've also had the pleasure of helping them do other things. And sometimes you'll divorce somebody when the kids are 5 and there may be custody issues for the next 13 years. So it's just an area when you have a lot of repeat business. When you do good work in family law, because it's so personal in nature, you get a lot of referrals from them and they think of you often. So it was just it was a practice area in which we got a lot of business. I was good at it. And I've since transitioned, obviously, for again, 25 years of experience. I now mainly do high asset divorces because that justifies my rate and experience. I still do some other stuff. Like I was in court just yesterday on a client because I'd represented her for a long time and I represented her significant other, divorced him a while ago. So, but it was just really, it was a business thing. And I've continued to do it. And we have probably out of our 13 lawyers, I think 8 of us do family law. So it's a big part of our practice.
Okay, so you have multiple practice areas now. I'm curious, like what's the decision process when you decide to do multiple practice areas? Like, for example, not just family, we're gonna go and do some other areas as well.
Sure. Yeah. So in the beginning, I would love to tell you that it's a grand plan. I always laugh and say my partner and I, for a long time, were successful despite ourselves. We came to planning a little late. So we operate our firm off of a modified EOS. So Gino Wickman's traction book. We have a business coach. We use Stephanie Everett, who you may know from The Lawyerist. She's great. She's our one-on-one coach. So we're more focused now, but I will tell you that it developed in the sense that Brandon and I we both had early jobs with a general civil litigation firm, and we've both done a lot of different law. And so part of it came from, we just got all these different types of cases. And then our hiring model really became what I call a 3-legged stool. So we started hiring lateral attorneys that were in a practice area we either did or we were not opposed to expanding to. So they had an expertise. And for instance, we don't do immigration, but if Virginia's #1 immigration firm person said, hey, I really want to work with you guys, we would add immigration because they knew what they were doing. And then we expanded geographically. And then the third stools, we're trying to find older attorneys that want to slow down or retire. And instead of them shutting off their business, they can merge with us. But that lateral hire piece is really where, at the crux of it, it came in, because we would find attorneys that come overboard and maybe they do what we do. And like trust in estates, for instance, that is such a good component for family law, because when you get divorced, you have to redo your estate plan or get an estate plan. And so we found some trust in estates attorneys that we trusted and liked. In criminal law, the same kind of thing, is somebody came over who does a really good job. So I would say we sort of fell into it initially, and now it's much more structured. We have a good plan now.
Yeah, so yeah, because you know that they say, like in business, stay in your lane, right?
Yeah.
So you have
And I would
multiple lanes.
Well, and I would say, I talked as part of, mentoring over the years, and I talked to a lot of young attorneys, and now with my coaching that I'm launching, part of what I tell them is, hey, if I had to do it over again, I probably wouldn't do it this way. That if you were starting now, pick 1 or 2 that work together and stay focused in that. It's a lot easier to grow. You become a market leader. You're known for that. I think it's better to niche down like that. However, we've been fortunate in that we just have some really good attorneys in all these areas. We've been around for 13 years, and so we do a pretty good job on that. And because we're a mid-sized, 13 I would say is mid-sized firm for a local firm. But if you're small, solo, have a couple of lawyers, absolutely don't do 10 areas. You're going to hurt yourself.
Right, right. How many intake salespeople do you have for all practice areas?
Yeah, so we have one marketing and intake manager, so she does both roles, and then we have 2 full-time outsourced actually intake people. So we go through. You may be familiar with Staffy. So they're out of Latin America. They're Latin American based, South American based, and so Stephanie is our intake manager. Trains them, supervises them. We have various technologies and systems that we run through to track metrics and all that sort of stuff. And then as we grow, we're continually evaluating, and we use metrics. So we're big on metrics. So KPIs are a big part of our firm. So we look at how many calls they can handle, how many calls are they taking, how are they doing on the calls. And so when we get to about 65, 70% of capacity, then we start hiring more. And we're actually discussing maybe getting, full-time American-based sort of assistant manager type to handle the higher cases or callbacks or in-person. We're thinking about doing some in-person consultations without a lawyer because, and like How to Manage is big on that. They call them dragons, where you have and so you do a free consult or a low, they're not getting legal advice certainly, and you tell them that, but it's sort of getting them onboarded and get the attorneys out of trying to sell, because as you well know in your industry, they're usually bad at it. And it's not a good use of their time either. If I'm really good at it because I sell for a living and I've been doing this for a long time and I'm an owner. It's not a really good use of my time. So that's something else we're exploring for sure.
Oh, well, let's rewind for a second. Are you telling me that your attorneys are doing some of the selling?
Yeah, well, they're doing consultations. So in essence, yes, so the intake's job is to do some of the procedural administrative stuff. So they get on the call and make sure that they're a qualified lead. They're in our practice area, they're in our geographic area. They're willing to pay because we charge for our family law consults at least, as well as some civils. And the issue then is are they qualified? And then their job is to sell the person or book the person for the consultation. But at the end of the day, getting that person to sign on as a client is up to the attorney because the attorney is meeting with them and giving them legal advice, which is why we charge for it. But again, I'm not sold that's the best way to do things because at the end of the day, I'd much rather our intake people, if they're a qualified lead, get them signed up and then have the attorneys do the work.
Exactly. Do the attorney stuff.
Right. Right. And yeah, because even charging three, like right now we charge, we're actually raising, so it's going to be about $4.50 an hour, but all our senior attorneys charge more than that anyway. And it's more than an hour. And again, and they're not good sales. They may not be good. I'm not going to say they're not good salespeople because we have someone,
Yeah.
but that's not their skill set.
Right. So they might talk a lot of a sale without meaning to.
Right. Because they're giving legal advice and they're focused lawyer. I know a lot of lawyers and I'm, especially, and I know you deal with a lot of very good lawyers and that's your expertise. They shy away from the word sales and they say, oh, it's dirty. I don't want to. That's what you're doing. You have to land your whole job is if you're a good attorney and this person can use your legal, then you should do everything in your power to get them signed up because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to help them for legal services. And oh, by the way, we're in it, you have to make money. You got to keep the lights on.
That's the S word, sales.
100%. Like it's not, I'm perfectly okay with it. Like doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. Okay. So, AI.
Mm-hmm.
How about AI? Like, how are you using AI in your firm?
Sure. So we use AI in two ways. So beyond, I use it every day personally, but beyond that, for the business, we use it in an administrative capacity and an HR capacity. So give you an example. When we were looking like my marketing manager came in the end of last year. And so we had a long-term marketing manager and we had to change the position. So we were looking for somebody. So I came up with a customized GPT. I use ChatGPT generally, but I used a customized GPT and I set it up. I said, okay, here's my job ad. And here's some other information. And when I run you, ask for a cover letter and resume. And then based on all of that, present me, make an hour-long interview. And it gives me some of the general stuff, like what are your strengths and weaknesses. It also does very specific stuff. Hey, these are our firm's core values. Or in your cover letter, you said X. Tell me how that would apply to our firm. And I always say it gets you about 80% there. And so we were able to do that for all the finalists. And then when we have management positions, we actually do a paid project to show their competency and some other things. And again, I used AI to help generate that project. We use it for, basically writing, marketing, content, you name it, we use it on that. And then for the legal part of it, we're using it for legal research. So we have a Lexis account. So we use Lexis Protege. We also use two other products, Calidus and MidPage. These are two other AI, smaller, more focused. We use it for contract review. We use it for document review. So I can feed it 3 years. Like for instance, I had a show cause where one of the allegations was insulting language. Like they weren't supposed to talk bad about each other. And I fed it 3 years worth of text messages and said, hey, tell me all the instances where there's aggressive language or there's cursing or all these sorts of things. And is it going to catch every instance? No. Is it going to do 80% and cost my client nothing? Yes. Whereas if I have my paralegal do it, it's costing them almost $200 an hour for God knows how many hours. So we're using it across the board.
Yeah. So what about for conversion?
Yeah, so we're exploring so we use Intaker on our website, and they're going pretty heavy into AI. So we're looking into adding their AI into the chatbot, which will allow some of that. We're also looking into a telephone AI product called Phonely. I mean, there's a bunch out there, but Phonely.ai is one where it does the voice. So it's when somebody calls, it'll answer the call, it'll route it, it'll ask questions, it'll retrieve information, it can do automated texts. It's sort of agentic AI. We're not there yet. The intaker thing, I think we're going to be probably pulling the trigger on that in the next 60 days or so. The Phonely thing is probably toward the end of the year if we're going to do it. But that would be the conversion part.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Definitely. Um, so are there any other areas that you think that AI would work really well that you're not doing yet or that we're not there yet?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, at the end of the day, it's legal research, drafting content, correspond. I mean, the phone part for answering the phones is such a big deal. And that would be reception level. It wouldn't be intake level. So I don't trust it. We're a ways away from me trusting AI to have the empathy and have to be able to sell. But as far as just getting some basic information and routing information and being responsive, because as you know, and again, we've got three. So we have three different receptionists. We have one for each office. So when somebody calls, they can get one of those, and then we can get routed to our two with my manager, three intake people. But there are times when somebody gets our rollover service, and so we have a rollover service to answer the phone. But at the end of the day, could they get to a voicemail? Yes, and that's the kiss of death. So we don't want that to happen. And if you had AI, then you never have that problem. They will always get a live person. And for people that are watching this who that don't understand the power of AI, I promise you've talked to AI and you don't even know it.
Oh, exactly. We're doing it all the time and we don't, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so amazing, for sure.
Well, so let me ask you this about AI. What do you think about AI, like let's just say the AI attendant or whatever, like whether it's for intake or messages or after hours, announcing like who they are. I'm an AI, bot, I'm an AI attendant, I'm an AI assistant. Do you think that they should do that up front and tell people who they are?
Yeah, I've been on the fence about that because I don't think it's and lawyers immediately go to an ethical thing, right? There's no ethical issue there. It's not a law ethical thing. I think it's a preference thing. I mean, I don't think it shouldn't lie. I mean, if somebody says, "Are you an AI?" then absolutely it has to be set to say, "Yes, I am."
Yes.
I don't like the idea of announcing it because people get freaked out for no reason. Like just the idea of talking to AI freaks them out, but it's like leaving a voicemail. And quite frankly, a lot of these AIs are going to do better than a lot of these law firms receptionists anyway. So I don't see a big need for it. And in some of, like, for instance, in legal settings, some of the courts have issued orders saying you have to know if you have to let us know if you use AI, which I think is silly because we have an obligation to file not fake cases anyway. That's the issue. And I don't tell them that I use spell check. I don't tell them that I use Lexis.
Or
I don't tell them, or Grammarly or ChatGPT. I don't.
Let's say that you did that. Right.
Yeah. So I don't. So at the end of the day, I don't think that we will. If we do it, with Intaker for the chat or for Phonely for the phone, I don't think that we're going to have it set up to announce.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I actually, one of my focus areas, I totally support AI all the way around, as long as, we're doing the right thing and ethically and, we're not causing any harm or anything like that. No lying, I guess you could say. But, speed to lead is a great place for it. You sort of kind of mentioned it a little bit, meaning AI will get to those leads faster. There's all kinds of reasons for that. It's not because the humans are bad. It's just, there's a ton of reasons, but it just will. It'll just get there faster. So speed to lead, you can prevent those leads from getting to your competitor.
Yeah.
It can be there immediately. So yeah, that's a whole conversation, but I totally support it. So tell us about like what happened that made you decide I'm going to do coaching.
Yeah. Well, when I've been a litigator my whole career. And I used to really love trying cases, and that's really what fulfilled me and what I really lived for. And then I just did a million of them, and I started to get sort of worn down by the constant battle and fight. It's still immensely important, and it's still it's a huge part of our practice. Doesn't mean I have to do it. I still do it, by the way. Obviously I'm doing some of these things, but so I that led me to really, I got to enjoy the business of law. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I didn't really realize that was me. But then when I started it, I'm like, oh, I really like the business part of this. And I became I joined a lot of groups. I got to know a lot of law firm owners. And I found that what energized me most is talking to other owners and talking to other lawyers and trying to figure out the puzzle business part of it. And then over the years, because I've now had the firm for 13 years, and I found that, well, I have a lot of experience and I have a lot of knowledge, not perfect by any means, but I do a lot, we're doing, my partner, myself, my COO, our entire team, we're doing a lot of good things, especially with tech. I mean, that's what I'm known for. So I chair the Virginia State Bar's special committee on technology and the future practice of law. I teach a lot of CLEs on technology and management and marketing. And I just found that I was giving away a lot of free lunches and I was having a lot of discussions just because I really like doing it. And I said, I think I could make money doing this. I think I could broaden my reach because there's only so much time. And so if I'm going to spend some time on this, I have to be able to charge for it. And that's what I've been doing. So for the last 9-10 months, I've been planning. I listen to a lot of, I'm sure like you do, I listen to or read a lot of books and podcasts. And one of the best books I encountered in the last forever really is Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Top 5 book all time on business stuff. And so it really clicked with me sort of the value of my time. And so I hired a full-time executive assistant through Athena. So I've got a guy in the Philippines and 40 hours a week, and he's amazing. And he, by the way, doesn't do anything for my law firm. He's just for me, helping with my coaching, my personal life. My daughter, who's 27, we have a dance business, family dance business. So he does all of that, and that helped me with the coaching. And so, so I'm just really excited about formally launching. About 8 weeks ago, I started sending out the free newsletter, and I have some one-on-one coaching that I do. But in June is the target for the full website, do the group coaching, and really try to market to as many people as possible because I just want to help people. Much like a lawyer, I want to help clients that need legal help. They don't teach you how to run a business in law school. And I feel bad for, especially the younger attorneys. They have no idea, and they're working 5 times as hard as they need to make half as much as they can. And it's, there's simple stuff that you can do. Much like, I've always admired you and what you do for your company because lawyers, if they understand that they need to do marketing, which these days most lawyers at least have an idea. Used to be just PI attorneys. Now most attorneys understand they can't just hang a shingle. Most of them still fail to understand the absolute importance of intake. Like you can market all you want, and if you have a bad intake system, you are just flushing money down the toilet. And by the way, we're good. We're getting better. With our new intake manager, she's doing a great job, and we've got some good systems, and we're doing better. But that is such a critical component. And so, much like what you're doing in the very focused and very important area of intake, particularly, I want to do overall, because motivate's an acronym, and I'm going through everything from mindset to team to technology, information, which is metrics, visibility, which is marketing, and just sort of hit everything you got to know.
That's perfect. I just want to rewind for 1 second. Tell me some of the entrepreneurial businesses from your family. Besides the dance.
Yeah, sure. So growing up, by the way, I'm the first one ever to go to college. So that was my mom and dad were both just blue collar workers. My mother babysat kids, but then she also started a crafting business. So she had her own crafting business where she made it was called Tots to Teachers, and she made gifts for like children to give to their teachers or teachers directly, like erasers and pointers and stuff back in the day. Woodworking. It was really interesting. She used to go to these big conventions, and the guy, she was trying to find a some sort of woodworking thing, and he's like, "Well, where's your husband?" And she goes, "No, this is for me." And then my dad was always, he hated working for people, so he owned used car lots a couple of times, and then he finally settled into an automotive repair shop where he hired a really good mechanic, and he ran that until he retired. That retired, and I just never got, I just thought, because I was going to go to school and do something. And then I realized I wanted to be a lawyer when I was in college. And I never really thought about that. And then my daughter wanted to dance. She was danced her whole life. She wanted to teach dance, and I convinced her to open a dance studio. My wife's a retired school teacher. And I said, look, instead of making $20 an hour working for somebody else and never really making any money, let's open a dance studio. I can help you with the business part. You've got the dance and the choreography. Your mom can help with the parents. She taught forever, so she's really good with potentially difficult parent dance moms. So that's just sort of the entrepreneurial journey.
That's perfect. That's perfect. When we were talking about that I teach business in law school, it was interesting because I recently just taught a class for Fordham law school in New York, and on empathy, because they don't teach empathy either. And so it was very interesting for the law students. They were very intrigued. It was really, really interesting. Okay, so
No, I was going to say, I'm happy to say that they are now. I mean, they're starting to. So I went to William and Mary Law School in Virginia, and a friend of mine was an adjunct professor there, and he teaches a class on sort of how to run a law firm. And so I've been a guest speaker there. Suffolk University, up more north, they have a whole program, and they did a study, and I volunteered where they had two students interview me about our firm, and then they did a presentation on it. So I see these classes now, 25 years ago, I would have killed for it, but it's still little, too little. But I love the empathy thing too, because no, they certainly don't teach that in law school.
yeah, well, hopefully they'll open it up to sales, that S word that everybody's afraid of. But
I know.
yeah.
It's a business,
Yeah,
like any business. Right.
So how can folks get in touch with you, or are there any last words that you want to share with?
Sure, absolutely. So I'd like to say, two things. First of all, one of the big things that I do for our firm as a lawyer. So when I do practice law, again, I do some high asset divorces, but what I really enjoy is the cybersecurity, data privacy. And so part of what I help all businesses, including law firms. And so I have a free guide on what law firms should look for as to hiring a good IT provider that has some cybersecurity knowledge. And it also talks about some of the basic stuff you should do in pretty layman's terms. So you can find me at pzlaw.com. That's our website. So kparks@pzlaw.com, or just go to pzlaw.com. If you email me, I'll be happy to send anybody, law firms, a free guide on that. And then for the coaching, it's themotivatedlawyer.com. Like I said, I'll be launching next week, or next month. But I do have a free newsletter. So if you just go to themotivatedlawyer.com now, just enter your name and email, and I'll sign you up. And every week I do an email on Tuesdays now. I changed from Mondays to Tuesdays because I need the extra day. But every Tuesday at 7 a.m., email one of the Motivate factors, and I talk about some aspect. I talk about the AI news for the week before, and then a practical AI tip every week.
That's super awesome. Well, it's really nice to hang out with you again. I mean,
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, before we got online, I was just saying that it's been about a decade since I saw you in person at a conference, but I'm glad we reconnected.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Okay.
Thank you for inviting me, Chris.
All right. So long, everybody. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Lawyers Tell All, where Chris Mullins takes you on a journey with lawyers in the trenches who show you the realities of what it takes to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, ever-changing profession. Remember to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Lawyers Tell All.